my way to historic Cane Hill today. Cane Hill is located in the Ozark Mountains and is closest to the town of Lincoln and Prairie Grove. Cane Hill is an unincorporated community in Washington County, Arkansas, and was the first permanent settlement in Washington County. Some of the most prominent pioneers were the Cumberland Presbyterians, who arrived at Cane Hill by way of Logan County, Tennessee, under the direction of Jacob Piette. There are 18 properties located on the National Register of Historic Places. Since 2013, Historic Cane Hill has restored or stabilized 9 historic buildings. Cane Hill is 5 miles wide and 8 miles long, with a population reportedly of under 1,000 people. Today I'm in historic Cane Hill, which is located in Washington County, Arkansas. I am in front of the Washington County Cane Hill College, which was the first collegiate institution of learning established in Arkansas, founded by the Cumberland Presbyterians on October 28th of 1834. Cane Hill is about 20 miles from Fayetteville. I believe that would be southwest, and 6 miles from the Oklahoma border. We're going to take a look around at this college, and then one of the very first institutions of higher learning in Arkansas. And we're also going to take a look around and see this immediate area, which has a lot of history. This is the last remaining college building here in Cane Hill. Cane Hill College grew out of the early school that the Cumberland Presbyterians who established Cane Hill set up in the 1830s to 1850s. Cane Hill College was one of the first chartered colleges in the state of Arkansas, and then later became the first co-ed college in the state. There was a women's seminary in Clyde, Arkansas, which is also in Washington County, and when it closed, the female students who were there moved to Cane Hill College. During the Civil War, most of the college buildings were up on the hill, and all but one were destroyed during the Civil War. The one that was remaining when they reopened the college was burned after it reopened. The story is that it was ignited by a disgruntled moonshiner who was run out of town. They built this building in 1886, so this is the last remaining building, but regrettably the college didn't last long after 1886 because it closed only 5 years after that in 1891. At that point, the charter from Cane Hill College transferred to what is now University of the Ozarks in Clarksville, Arkansas, which is about an hour and a half away in Johnson County. It was called Cumberland College at the time. President Fontaine Earle moved from Cane Hill to be the president there and lived out the rest of his life in Clark. When this building closed as a college, it continued to serve the community. There were some church congregations who met here, but ultimately it became a public school, and so from the early 1900s to the mid-1950s. These events created a continuity of the educational legacy in Cane Hill, something that people who lived here have been proud of and helped preserve. For decades, there was a group after the school closed and consolidated with nearby Lincoln that kept this building standing and kept the lights on. In effect, historic Cane Hill directly benefited from those people and their dedication to keep it alive and standing for so many decades. It's currently used for community uses. For example, the annual Festival of Cane Hill committee meets here. It's rented out for weddings and events. When Cane Hill completed this building's restoration in 2017, they brought it up to modern use by adding accessible restrooms and a kitchen so that it can be used for a variety of events. There's also a really nice auditorium, and events such as yoga classes, cooking demonstrations, poetry readings have historically met here. The college grounds is home to the Cane Hill Outdoor Festival, which features live music, crafts, handmade and hand-done crafts like blacksmithing, basket weavers, quilts, and it meets the third weekend in September. The first public library in Arkansas was located in the college building, so to acknowledge that, this cozy little reading nook is here in the museum and includes some books from the library when it was a public school from 1917 to 1956. One of the first things that was done after the museum was opened in this location was they developed this timeline. Everything you could know about Cane Hill is on this wall in the way of this timeline, beginning from the occupation by the indigenous people all the way up to World War II. Early houses were simple log cabins furnished with items brought to the area, as well as things manufactured locally. One of the first settlers to arrive was John Rankin Payette, an accomplished furniture maker. The cannonball bed and nightstand in this exhibit were made by him. Most of his furniture was made from walnut trees, which still grow prolifically in Cane Hill. After the first of the year, this exhibit is scheduled to change to reflect the textiles of the time. This exhibit area talks about Cane Hill College. This was the second college in Arkansas by one day. Arkansas College beat them by a matter of hours, being chartered by the state legislature in 1852. All historic college buildings were burned in 1864 during the Civil War. Pottery was made in Cane Hill at the time this place was known as Boonesboro, which is why it's called Boonesboro pottery. The potter they know most about was J.D. Wilbur, who lived about a half mile away, and they now own his pottery, and his historic kiln is still there. One of the reasons Cane Hill was settled was because of a dense concentration of springs. Settlers would find a stream and track it back to the spring and build their home. Because they had such good water sources, there were lots of mills. One of them is maybe a half mile to the south and was the second largest overshot wheel west of the Mississippi. Unfortunately, it was damaged in a flood several years back and has been removed and disassembled. There is a present ongoing effort to get that rebuilt and restored. The first post office in Cane Hill was established in 1830. The earliest location is unknown, but by 1900 was located in the newly constructed A.R. Carroll drugstore. The post office was moved to this building in the 1940s. Over the course of the town's history, the name of the post office was changed 8 times. Beginning as Cane Hill, it was changed to Steam Hill, and underwent several other changes before finally ending up again to Cane Hill in 1901. The Bank of Cane Hill was located next door. The building is not recognizable today, however, because in the 1960s they tore off the half-story and the gorgeous facade. The safe is a safe that came out of the bank, which was robbed early in the 20th century. There's a myth that Jesse James robbed that bank, which is reportedly false, but it gets tied up with another story, which is that Jesse James' sister lived about a mile south of here. He did visit her, but he didn't rob the bank. These bank doors are original and were discovered in a field north of here, and they were managed to be salvaged. In 1862, there was a major skirmish, the Battle of Cane Hill, a 12-mile running battle that started on the hill where the cemetery is to the north. An hour-long artillery battle proceeded and went for 12 miles to Cove Creek. The Confederate forces had been encamped along the Arkansas River Valley near Van Buren, where they were out of food and out of supplies. There were plenty here in Cane Hill as the mills were up and running. They brought wagon trains here to get resupplied, but they got caught by the Union forces, and the battle was basically a running retreat. The Confederate forces were just trying to hold off the Union forces long enough so that their wagons could get back over the hill before dark, before everything shut down. It ended up where no one really won. This occurred about 9 days before the Battle of Prairie Grove, another nearby town about 10 miles away. J. Montgomery Wilson was 16 years old and survived all 4 years of the war, and has some great things to say in his memoir. This display is a duplicate of what he would have looked like in war. This is the way Southern troops would have arrived for battle. The Southern troops would have been expected to bring their own gun, their own horse, saddle, whatever they lived with and worked with, hunted with. There would be a military issue for the Federals. I'm in front of Cane Hill Presbyterian Church, and I'm about to take you on a tour of the inside. So the church, the museum, as well as the college are in very close proximity of one another. Built in 1891, historic Cane Hill acquired the Cane Hill Presbyterian Church in 2018 from the Presbyterian Church in the USA, with the understanding that they'd restore it and it would be used for church services as long as there is a congregation. Stained glass windows are from the 1950s, and so are the pews. The restoration was complete in 2020. This church is home to a very small congregation, which hosts a lot of weddings. The chandeliers are replicas, and there is a very old piece of furniture behind the podium. There's also a fellowship hall in the back of the church with restrooms and a kitchen. According to the Library of Congress website, the Cane Hill Presbyterian Church is an exquisite example of country Gothic revival architecture. Built in 1891, the church walls are 2-foot thick rough rectangular cut blocks of native sandstone with heavy timber roof construction and a rich wooden interior that covers the floor, wainscot, and ceiling. The building is adorned with 12 stained glass windows, each depicting a biblical scene that fills the spaces with ambient light. The building consists of 3 spaces: a square bell tower, a foyer, a small rectangular parlor, and a larger rectangular sanctuary with an apse at the west wind. Thank you for joining me today on DixieCast, The Sound of the South. This is a weekly podcast, and I will feature a new podcast next Friday. This is Jill Varvel, and I appreciate your joining me today. I hope to see you next week for another heaping helping of Southern comfort for your ears.